My name is Cheryl Stapleton, and I became a Fraser Valley Potters Guild member back in 1995 when I was a student at KPU. I work a lot of different places, but I kind of downsized this year. I work at the Shadbolt Center for the Arts, and I work at the Roundhouse Community and Arts and Recreation Center in Vancouver for 23 years there. And I love the Shadbolt too because it's atmospheric firing, wood firing, soda firing. We have about 116 members now. We meet at KPU, and that's kind of why I started to be a member back in 1995, because the Fraser Valley Potters Guild was open arms to all the students in the ceramic studio there. David Lloyd was my teacher and encouraged us to attend the monthly meeting. We at least have one show a year in the Fraser Valley. We have a meeting once a month on the second Thursday of the month, and we're going back to in-person, and we're going to do kind of a hybrid now. Every meeting we invite artists to show us their shtick. We've had people from North Carolina, from Winnipeg, from New York. So it's opened up a whole new world for us. And we can all just sit at home in our jammies and and watch the Zoom presentation. So it's kind of like, wow. The thing about wood firing and soda firing, but mainly wood firing, that I like the most is the camaraderie and the connection that people have to make to get it done. You can't do wood firing alone. You can't fill, it would take you a long time to fill a 50 cubic foot kiln and load it and then fire it. And you couldn't fire it alone unless you got really burnt out, because you have to keep it going for so long, 36, 40 hours, that it's pretty hard. You'd have to do a lot of prep and you'd have to stay up. So I like the fact that we can all get together. We can all have a few pots in the kiln. This last firing, we had 31 people involved in. I had to organize the shifts and the firing shifts and stoking shifts and stuff and glazing shifts. And so, yeah, everyone has to work together. The last wood firing we did was 2019. And, finally we get to do a wood firing again in 2022. So we look forward to it every June. It's something that we've done, I think, every June for years now. So we'll do another firing in the around December time. We'll do a soda firing. So that's a gas-fired kiln, and I think you have one here, a gas-fired kiln. But when the cone 9s start to go down, so when it's almost at its mature state of cone 9, we spray in a brine of soda ash. So sodium, it could be sodium bicarbonate, but usually it's soda ash. And it's mixed in with boiling water, and it is sprayed in about 20-minute intervals, and we just check the surface. So the surface is the sodium that's sprayed in there. That's the glaze on the outside. The same as the wood kiln, it's the wood ash that lands on the surface and gives it the glaze that it needs. This cup here, there's no glaze on the outside. There's some underglaze, but there's no glaze. This is all wood that's accumulated into the interior glaze, which there is. But there's a direction. You can tell the flame hit here. It burnt out the red. And here's the quiet side where the red stayed. You never know what you're going to get. You open the kiln and it's like Christmas every time. Every piece has to be wadded up on little balls of clay. And it's usually a sand and a fire clay. And it's raised up so that it doesn't adhere to the kiln shelf. because the glaze or the wood ash is everywhere. So if this was sitting on a kiln shelf, it would be fused. So they're all raised up and they pop off. Sometimes you got to grind them, but so you can see where the fire came this way, the real kind of shiny side and then the quiet side. So the fire was this direction. So every pot has a story. Every pot has, there's no two pots alike. Every pot has a story to tell about what happened to it in the kiln. The accumulation of wood ash, where it drips down, what side it was hit at. You know, that's what I like about it. It's a crapshoot. That's the great thing about pottery. If it was really predictable, I think I'd get bored. But it's not predictable at all. So I think that's what keeps everybody going all the time. It's just like rolling the dice. Whatever you get is what you're going to get. And sometimes you're not happy with all the pots, but probably 2/3 of the pots you're happy with, and the 1/3 it's like, yeah, could have been better. So it just depends where it is in the kiln. Maybe a piece of wood hit it and knocked it into another pot, and it's got a chip out of it. Maybe the wadding wasn't, you know, maybe a piece of wadding fell off and it tipped over on that way. When you're doing a community firing like that, not everybody is 100% aware of what's going on in the kiln, and so it's a learning process for people. So when you have that many people, you can't expect perfection all the time. You know, if you had your own kiln and you did your own thing, you could beat your own self up. But when you want to involve and teach people and have them be part of something that you want them to know and learn, and another aspect of ceramics, that you just got to take those lumps, you know, the pots that to get tipped over, and have a lot of patience. Don't learn one thing at a time. There is, you know, 65 lifetimes of information out there, depending on what temperature you use, what clay body you use. I mean, you know, there's earthenware, mid-range stoneware, which you do here, and then high-range, you know, high-end, high-temperature stoneware, and then there's porcelain. Like true porcelain's even higher than stoneware. So it's like, you can spread yourself so thin and not be, and overwhelm yourself, or you could just kind of focus on one thing and get what you want out of it, and then maybe move on to another thing if you want to. It's like when students walk into the glaze room and there's 14 glazes on a test tile, you know, on the board of everything that they could do. And they turn into like deers in the headlights, you know, because, and I just say, please just focus on 3. Focus on 3 glazes and work with them for a year, you know, because you can put that glaze over that glaze, or that glaze over that glaze, or the opposite way around, and you could really hone it into exactly what you want it to be. And then switch one out. But if you're looking at 14 glazes and you don't know what you're going to do and you want them all, it's like walking into a candy store, right? So I think keep it simple and just have a lot of patience and know it's going to take a lot of time, because like I say, there's about 65 lifetimes of work of ceramic information out there going back thousands of years, right?